There is a gaping hole in my family room wall and a matching TV-sized budget burning a hole in my wallet. Why haven't I spent the budget to fill the hole? Well, because I've fallen into the same trap I'm always warning you guys about. In my search for the perfect TV, we already reviewed two of the hottest sets on the market, Samsung's S95B QD-OLED and LG's G2W-OLED, but I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger because I knew there was something better around the corner. Fortunately, the corner is this one. This is it. For a whopping $1,000 more, the A95K from Sony features the best of all worlds, at least on paper. A QD-OLED panel, Sony's outstanding image processing, Dolby Vision, and a special cooling layer to push it beyond the performance of its South Korean competitors. Will this be the one that ends up in my family room? I really hope so, because it's getting harder and harder to convince my sponsors to keep buying me new TVs. Sponsors like Grid Studio. Using the art of knolling, Grid Studio's art frames show off the art hidden inside technology. Learn how you could win your own frame at the end of this video. Between our last two contenders, the LG G2 and Samsung S95B, I'm leaning toward the S95B, and it's all about Samsung's QD-OLED panel technology. It is super bright, color accurate out of the box, has top-notch viewing angles, and we suspect that it won't suffer from permanent image retention or burn-in to nearly the same degree as earlier OLEDs. Yes, the lack of polarization does mean that in a brightly lit room, it doesn't look as inky black as LG's W-OLED, but when you've got two scenes side by side that aren't super dark, it just plain wins. Or at least it did. Let's take a look at our newcomer. For $4 grand for a 65-inch, this better blow me away.
There's a good chance it will. It's, we're still using QD-OLED panels, just like with the Samsung, but it's got an extra twist. Like LG's G2, it's got that big thermal layer on the back, so it should dissipate heat a bit better.
But they're not using it the way you might think. LG seems to be using the thermal dissipation layer to boost brightness without cooking their OLEDs. Sony seems to be more focused on reducing image retention because it's not any brighter than the vanilla Samsung version.
Yeah, there's more though. Compared to Samsung, it has Dolby Vision to go along with its Dolby Atmos, and it's a Bravia, which means this, or something else from Sony's lineup, is the only way you'll get Dolby Vision in your PS5.
On my PS5, you say?
Your PS5.
Can't say I'm a fan of this kind of ecosystem walled gardening, and also I don't have a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, well, anyway, it has HDR10 and HLG, but not HDR10 Plus.
Why can't they just have all of them?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a lot of work, but that's another swing and a miss to me. I thought you said I was gonna like this thing.
You are. Dolby Vision's pretty good. The good news is I'm expecting those supported HDR modes to look really good on here. And we measured around 960 nits in HDR with full field white hitting about 210 nits. But the big thing is almost 320 nits in SDR.
Really?
Yeah, which is really good for an OLED.
Wow, okay. This already looks great.
Right?
Even with the studio lights in my eyes.
I know. And as long as the G2 isn't that right there,
yeah,
that still looks black.
It still looks black.
Like it's, it's a pretty minor difference.
It's a funny thing because the issue with the black bars on an IPS is that they glow.
Yeah.
So in the night, they bother you because they're glowing. They're distracting from the immersion in the content.
Yeah.
But on these TVs, they only look gray. They don't actually emit light. They just have kind of a gray look compared to the inky blacks of a WOLED.
Yeah, man, the fire looks so good. Like even his pant leg there, it looks like his legs are actually on fire. Like they are, they filmed it on fire probably with like a fire resistant pants or whatever, but
without overjuicing anything.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't look cartoonish.
All the grass looks as green as it should. And you can, like the yellow patches there, like it looks like you're staring at an actual field. I hate the term, it looks like I'm looking through a window, but like, that's as close as it's gonna get, I think. Like,
we haven't talked about reflections. That was a big advantage on the Samsung compared to the LG. And it's pretty solid here.
When it's full black, I can see myself.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like even here, it's kind of dark and I can kind of see us a little bit, but
it's not that distracting.
No.
And We are lit by studio lighting right now. This is totally unfair.
Yeah.
This is an unfair situation. And when we look at the numbers, that makes sense. Sony boasts nearly 90% coverage of the BT 2020 color space, and straight out of the box, we got a Delta E average of 1.85 in SDR. Technically, that is a slight loss to the S95B, but that's only after using Samsung's onboard calibration, and a difference of 0.16 is an insignificant price to pay for our 75 nits of extra brightness. As for HDR, we measured both IMAX Enhanced and Cinema modes, and ladies and gentlemen, we figured out where most of that $1,000 extra is going. Sony's processing. Not LTTstore.com, where they could have picked up a sweet WAN hoodie or a swag. Even after using Samsung's calibration app, the A95K crushes the S95B in HDR. Without luminance errors, we are getting a Delta E average of 3.6 with a max of 6.5. Like, it's not even close. The Sony also handles reds significantly better. Skin tones look so natural. Like, that looks like a firelit face. It doesn't look like a yellow light on a face. And while some of the other colors are slightly more accurate on the Samsung, that lower maximum deviation is more important here. It wasn't easy getting to this state though. While we didn't dig into the 10-point white balance and color adjustment on the Bravia, we did have to tinker with some of the other settings, and it comes with some trade-offs. To get the most color accurate image in both SDR and HDR, you can't use the same settings in both modes. We found that the best results in HDR were with gradation preferred HDR tone mapping, advanced contrast enhancer set to medium, and live color set to high. Conversely, SDR wants ACE and live color off. If you keep the SDR settings, you end up with less accuracy and more luminance errors in HDR. When you keep the HDR settings, color accuracy plummets in HDR, and I just wish we didn't have to make this trade-off. Though, realistically, an average Delta E of 4 is still really good for the average viewer, so what I would probably do is leave it dialed in for HDR and then take that hit in SDR. Of course, we need more than just great color performance. What about the features? It runs at up to 4K 120Hz refresh rate, we will talk about gaming shortly, integrates with every relevant voice assistant through the mic in the remote, and has Sony's cool behind-the-screen speakers. These can either be used as better than average integrated sound, or, and this is really cool, as a stealthy center channel in a surround config like the one we set up in this sponsored video on the A9HT speakers. It's even got a freaking webcam. Wow, that's kind of weird looking. This definitely merits a closer look. Those flashes are so crisp and fast. Normally, I don't care about pixel response time while I'm consuming passive entertainment.
Sure.
Right? Like when I'm gaming, when I'm controlling the action, I do. But wow, it's just, you can tell.
It's on and off. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's this difference between the display not being fast and there being kind of an after effect to a bright flash like that, and your eyes being what causes the after effect of seeing something bright.
Yeah, but this is just boop, and then it's gone.
That's cool.
Do you like the remote? You've only used it for like 20 seconds, but...
I haven't had any complaints.
Right? Because it just feels correct.
Look at that, it has buttons you need, like a dedicated input button. Ooh, dedicated Bravia core button. I certainly plan to use that.
I don't think it has like Disney Plus.
No, it does.
It has Netflix and Disney Plus.
But why would I want those if I have Bravia core? I could watch such wonderful movies as Spider-Man and other more different Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It just makes the atmosphere so much more immersive. The glitter on the light fury, and it's glitter. It's not just a white spot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Look at it,
you
look
see
at
them
it
shine
sparkle.
on and off. Yeah, sparkle, that's the word.
And you can only do that with individually lit pixels. Now you said we got 100 megabit in one of the other files, but is the TV actually limited to 100 megabit like
I think
so many others?
I tried speed test, and I got 100 megabit up and down. Yeah.
Put gigabit controllers on these things, you guys. They cost nothing. And here, this feels like sun behind clouds.
Yes, it looks like an
Not
overcast
a
day.
gray sky.
Yeah.
Woo! I just love this scene in HDR, man. The thing is, HDR is not about a brighter image or even making out more details in the dark parts of a scene. It's about light and materials and them behaving on screen in a way that's like what we'd expect in the real world. It's about immersion.
It's about having a high dynamic range.
Yes, thank you. It is kind of right in the name. Finally, it's time to talk gaming. We gamed on all 3 displays with an RTX 3080 Ti and a Core i9-12900K. We're gonna have our TVs and our test bench parts listed below, by the way, if you wanna check them out. Surprise, surprise, because they're all OLED, they're all freaking great, actually. Panel latency testing was done using a new tool from our friend Andrew over at Tech Team GB. Speaking of tests, we just went around trying to find out who's the fastest typer at LMG, and you can only check that video out on Floatplane, so go get subscribed. Andrew developed the OSRTT, or Open Source Response Time tool. It's a device that is similar to NVIDIA's LDAT, but it's open source, obviously, and it runs its own Unreal Engine 4 program in the background to simulate flashes and light changes. We got pretty similar results from each display, with the LG and the Sony hitting about 8.4 milliseconds, going from 0 to 153, so black is 0 and 153 is gray, and the Samsung marginally beat them at 7.9 milliseconds in the same test, putting all 3 of them in the upper echelon of living room gaming displays. Now, while the G2 is the only one with proper NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility, all 3 displays have variable refresh rate and automatic low latency mode, so I'm not expecting that to be a big differentiating factor. Now, to dive deeper into QD-OLED versus WOLED, and whether or not it has the same lightning fast pixel response time, we've ordered a new sensor for our oscilloscope, so make sure to get subscribed for all the labs content that we have in store. But to the eye, all 3 of them are definitely fine. Which leads us to the conclusion. Despite the higher price tag, I think I'm gonna go with the Sony Bravia A95K. It might not get quite as bright as the Samsung in HDR, but it's sturdier. Our S95B has actually started to warp just from unboxing and reboxing it a few times, and we're not the only ones seeing the problem. It's more color accurate in HDR, brighter in SDR, and Dolby Vision is just too good to pass up, even if we think Sony's being kind of buttheads about Dolby Vision. The thing though, is that my budget isn't exactly limited. I actually bought 2 of the 3 TVs rather than wait for review units so that I could get an answer quicker and get my family room built out. So it's important to give a more grounded perspective. For almost anyone else, saving $1,000 is a no-brainer for the still very outstanding picture that you're gonna get from either the LG G2 or Samsung S95B. Really, I think the main takeaway here is that if you've got the budget for a flagship TV, it is pretty tough to pick the wrong one for a change. And if you don't mind waiting a year or 2, there are gonna be some amazing home viewing experiences available at just wild prices as the competition heats up here. Just like my segue's heating up to our sponsor, Grid Studio. Grid Studio's art frames show off the art hidden inside technology using the art of knolling. Every part of your favorite phone or console gets carefully extracted, laid out, and labeled in clear view. They've got over 30 different frames available from the Game Boy Color to the iPhone X, and Grid Studio wants to give you the chance to win your very own frame. To enter, all you have to do is click the link in the description and let us know what you think is the best designed tech product for a chance to be one of 10 lucky winners. Enter to win or buy your own Grid Studio frame using the links down below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the other 2 videos dedicated to the S95B and the LG G2. Both of them are really nice, even if I did choose this one instead.